MyMac Podcast 799. Game on? No.
And welcome everyone to the MyMac.com podcast. This is number 799, which means, you know what that means, Gaz? Our next show?
800!
Yeah, and you know what we're going to do special for that show?
We're going to do so much. We've got so much lined up. I mean, we've been prepping all the listeners. They've been talking to them about competitions, sending in bumpers. There's so much happening. It's incredible.
Yeah, and so much time, effort, and money. And money.
We got prizes, quizzes, all sorts. It's just incredible. I don't know how you've put it all together this time.
Well,
Guy.
let me ask you one other question. How much of everything we just said is true?
Which bit of what we all said?
Well, starting from, so next show is 800 on.
Well, that bit was true.
Yeah, pretty much everything past that, not so much. Yeah,
Okay.
we're not doing anything for show 800.
No, we're doing nothing.
We're doing nothing. Our big
Nada.
show was which one was it now? 500. So, I had to remember. It's like, what the hell show was that? It was show 500 back in 785.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's we're not going to do another big show because not until the next one.
Yeah, or we get kicked off this one. So
Well,
yeah.
yeah. But
I don't know. I'm making this up as I go.
Exactly.
Yeah, we would say if that happened, we'd say
What happens now?
Precisely.
Well,
Yeah.
there we
Well,
go.
But
Yeah.
But if
What happens now? You might ask.
you might ask,
You might ask that. You
Yeah.
just might. Gaz, did you hear?
but you
that-
don't have to be worried. You don't have to be worried because
So we're back.
yes.
That's right. At least
Anyway,
for this
sorry.
week.
Sorry, I'm interrupting you.
No.
I should be.
Did you hear that SteamVR from Valve, their platform of choice to work with virtual reality software and hardware, is not going to be updated to work with the macOS?
No.
That's right. This shall not stand.
That I did hear about that, I must admit, and I thought I'd leave it to you to take us through an in-depth analysis because an in-depth analysis because we like analysts generally.
We
And
do.
I do believe that you might have put something into the second section of this week's show about
Just maybe. We may talk more about this in the center section of the show.
What's interestingly, we haven't touched on. Well, no, you have touched on it actually. So, yeah, you have touched on it very briefly, which is quite amusing. I'll come to that later. I'll come back to that later.
Okay. And we are recording this, of course, as audio. And we are currently also recording this using eCamm's call recorder. And I may do something with this video. Or, or not.
I'm just checking the video behind me, see what's in, see if there's anything incriminating. I mean, it is a pretty messy room, but
Well, the odd thing is everything that is behind us, it's like it's only half finished. It looks kind of blurry.
well, it's very half finished in here. I can tell you.
Well,
Anyway,
Gaz,
how are you? What have you been doing? Yes, your first line, I definitely agree with you
which first line?
on Guy's Our Stuff.
Oh, yeah. I've been cranking out Guy's daily drives on Wednesdays and Fridays. Typically one on my way to work and one on my way back to work. Except for last Friday. I had finally remembered because one of the things I've been having trouble with is, I get it going in my car and I just do it. I don't tell anybody ahead of time that I'm going to be doing a Guy's Daily Drive. So nobody knows unless they just happen to run into it on Facebook.
Yeah.
So I kept saying that I was going to tell people ahead of time when I was going to do a guy's daily drive. And Friday, just as I was leaving work, I did.
Wowza.
And then
Nothing
Facebook
happened.
and my camera decided to not cooperate with one another. I had like this dark green background. I mean, I looked like I had the plague. And it was like, well, that's not going to work for a guy's daily drive. And I have here that I hadn't found the cause yet, but I was hoping it's software. And I think it is because I went into live earlier today. I didn't record anything. I was just looking at my camera.
Yep.
And it was still coming up green. As soon as I flip it, because if you don't flip it, everything is reversed in live. You have to go into the settings and flip it either vertically or horizontally to make it work.
Right.
And as soon as I do that flip, everything turned green.
Right. So if you don't flip it, everything's back to front.
Yes. So it's a question of, do I look green or do I look backwards? You know, and was 6 of one, half dozen of another.
Well, yeah.
So if only I could combine them in some way. So I started messing around with settings, and suddenly it all cleared up. And I don't know what it was I did. I don't know what thing that I hit in all of the different things that you can do in Facebook Live that made it stop looking like I had the plague. But it finally came up the way it was going to. So
it's good.
Not today, because I'll be busy with editing this show, but probably Monday or Tuesday of next week, I'll see what I can do to get something going and get something on there. But if you were expecting to see a guy's daily drive on Friday afternoon, I apologize. There isn't going to be one. But there was one Friday morning, which I will edit and get out later today. How about
That's
you?
good. Well, I went back to work this week.
Nice.
Well, for one day at least. I started again on the 1st of May, which was a Friday. So, yeah. And we've got a 4-day week next week, actually. So it's a bank holiday weekend or week. And the bank holiday was going to be on the Monday, but because of VE Day, they moved it to the Friday. But I'm not sure how many celebrations are now going to happen on VE Day on the Friday because.
Well, doesn't that mean you have a 3-day week since you'll have Monday and Friday off?
No, because they've moved the Monday to the Friday. They didn't give us an extra day. Oh, no, not going to give us an extra day's holiday. Huh,
no,
joking,
can't do that.
mate.
I mean, my God, it's not like you haven't been to work in 4 weeks. Or longer.
Well, yeah, but this is different. This is a bank holiday, which basically means that it's a government bank holiday, which means everybody could take it off. Although, obviously, if everybody did take it off, then I don't know what would happen about the police, about the fire brigade, about national health,
Well, they'd figure it out.
doctors, and there's loads of stuff which
And lawyers. Don't forget the lawyers.
Don't forget the lawyers.
Because if you try, they'll let you know about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, kind of starting back, but because I've been, if you remember, at the start of April, I was furloughed.
Yeah.
I'm not furloughed at this point in time, although we'll have to wait and see. It's a ever-moving situation. Got confirmation, or my daughter got confirmation that she is going to receive her master's. So that's
nice.
Good. That's very good.
Even with all the schools closed down.
Well, yeah, she's been waiting for her results. She finished before all of this kind of came in, so just as it was starting, really. So that was good. But So
if I ever meet her, since she has a master's, do I have to? I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy.
Well, you wouldn't be worthy anyway. So
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, as long as we, but it's the terminology that we have to determine.
Yeah. So well, I'm definitely not worthy. So.
Well, you were there at the beginning.
Yes, very good. Yes. So I do have some input, I suppose.
Oh, zing!
Ooh, zinger! Yeah, and definitely back then.
No computer is required.
Don't check his browser history. Don't do it. Don't do it.
No. No. Anyway,
yes.
let's move on. Zoom on. Would you like? Do you take it?
No,
it.
I
Go
can't.
On.
It's yours. It's mine. I mean,
what? Oh, okay. I've got to do it then, have I?
Yeah.
We have a mymac.com recent article. Yes, we do. This is Square Jellyfish Grip WX tripod mount. This is a review by Mr. Sue Gurley.
Ugh.
Most of us have seen the meme. That is meme, isn't it? Yes. Yeah. Where something falls in a spectacular fashion and a couple of cartoonish protagonists are standing there saying, "You had one job." Well, this isn't about those kinds of products, but one that actually has just one job and does it pretty well. The Jellyfish Jelly Grip WX tripod mounts one job is to hold a rectangular thin slab of some material, which is usually a smartphone, and allow it to be moved in various angles while still holding that thin slab of some material securely. It does this job without complaint and has some pretty neat engineering with a lot of thought put in, not only to allow it to work properly, but also to keep its cost down. Go over to the mymac.com website and review Mr. Guy Searle's review of the Square Jellyfish Jelly Grip WX tripod mount.
It should work probably.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. There was an advert in the UK by Carlsberg, and obviously
that's the German beer company, right?
Danish. Mm-hmm. And you can't say that something is actually
same thing.
Probably. You can't say that something is factual, can you? Like, our rollerblades are the best rollerblades in the world.
This podcast is the best podcast anyone will ever listen to.
We can say that because it's comedic value, of course. But advertising agencies and standards don't allow us to go and say that on a commercial advert. It wouldn't be. No, couldn't do it. No. So there was a beer company, Carlsberg. Danish, not German.
The German-Danish company.
Yeah. Are you predicting something?
No, it's Janish.
Okay. All right. Yeah. And they always use the word probably at the end of the adverts. Probably the best lager in the world.
So it keeps them out of trouble.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Anyway. Yeah. So that was it really. That was all I've got.
Okay. Well, no, you got a few more things here.
Just a few, yeah. So we're going over to Gaz's snippets.
My favorite part of this section.
Now, that's not what you said last week.
No. Right. Honestly, I love Gaz's snippets. That's not a joke.
Yeah,
but the snippets sometimes can be a joke. But
I'm just trying to think that through. Actually, though, I'm just trying to
think
that through. Yeah, probably.
Probably.
That's I just. Yeah.
Damn it, Carlsberg. Now you've put this in my head.
Let's go with that, shall we? Let's go with that. Okay, so apparently you can use some iPhone 8 parts inside the iPhone SE. Wow!
Stop the presses!
Yeah. Just incredible.
Other than the processor, it's like, wow, it's almost like it's the same phone.
We've got to move on because there's quite a lot here, actually.
Okay.
Apple have there's an Apple-sponsored 1979 Porsche 935 race car replica on sale for $500,000. Yeah, $500,000. No, is that right? Yeah, $500,000.
Can I use my Apple Card for that? Get 3%
You can, and I'll come back to that later.
Good.
Actually, German has changed its stance on the Apple Google contact tracing project, as I think have France. Now, I'll come back onto that in a minute or two. And I've got to say that if you've listened to the Mac and Forth show this week and you're a UK listener, this really doesn't pertain to anybody outside of the UK. A little bit, but it very much does in some of the things they said about the fact that our government wants the NHS, or the NHS, who are good at making you healthy but not good at making apps, maybe not be using the Apple Google tracing. But I'll come back to that.
They have their own spyware to put on your phone.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Wait, hold on. Is that actually true? I haven't listened to the Mac and Forth show
well,
yet.
Yeah, they did a very good coverage of and actually it's just go over and listen to it actually, because it's a really good coverage. It pertains really to the UK people. So
and it's a good podcast too,
and it's a good podcast. Anyway, we like Carl.
We do.
Australia has rolled out its COVID-19 tracking app with privacy concerns. Shocker. Apple and Google tweak key bits of contact tracing privacy plan. Apple and Google look to rebrand the contact tracing as exposure notification.
Oh, see, now I feel much better.
Apple contact tracing has blind spots as companies mull badges. Surely that should null. It says mull badges and wristbands.
Well, they're thinking about it, I think is what that means.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Mull over. Very good. Yes. Well done. Well, I'm glad you can understand English, because I don't.
I understand analyst.
Yes. The full iPhone SE teardown confirms it can be easily repaired, which is good news for everybody.
Especially for me, since I have one.
Apple delays mass production of the next-gen flagship iPhones. Well, we kind of knew that was coming. Yes. JP Morgan suggests that Apple stock investors take advantage of any post-earnings recalibration.
What the hell does that even mean?
Well, it means that if the price goes down, buy a load. Now, I'm not sure what the price did after the earnings call, to be honest with you, because I didn't look. I'm very much upset with analysts, because if you look at the world stock markets, if you remember, we said they should go on furlough and stop working for 2 or 3 months. And guess what's happened? Everything's dropped. It's gone along, load of value lost, loads of analysts made lots of money. It's gone along the bottom. It's come back up to pretty much where it was before.
Yeah,
it's a little bit lower.
Wait, are you telling me that stock analysts, would manipulate the market so that they could sell high and buy low? I'm sorry, I just don't believe that. They would have many problems with scruples.
As a famous German/Danish drinks company would say, probably. Apple expands App Store search ads to Russia. Here we go. The NHS has rejected the Apple Google coronavirus app plan. Now, as I said earlier, this really winds me up. And Carl made, I think it might have been Steve, I can't remember now. They made a really good point in the show that there are lots of countries around the world that are actually producing their own app, right? Yeah. And this is a centrally created app, i.e. all of the results go central, so that they can understand what's going on. And, they say that NHS are saying that they can interpret the results much better if they have them all coming centrally. Problem with that is, what's that app doing? What's it sending centrally? How long is it going to be sending it for? Do you know when it'll actually turn off? Whereas Google and Apple have said explicitly, and I think we can trust them. And I've heard a lot of analysts, and I'm not talking about financial analysts, I'm talking about software analysts, that have said they have implemented the whole process correctly. Now, NHS, you're good at making me well again. You're not good at writing apps. I'm not going to use it, right? I am not going to use it. And there are lots of people around the world that are going to have apps made by their governments, and they won't use them. That means they won't get enough results. Secondly, and this was the massively fantastic point made on Carl's show that I thought, Google and Apple will be tracing everybody who's got their phones. That means
because you can still opt out.
No. Yeah, you can opt out if you want to. You can opt out. That's fine, and that's fine, right? But the point here, Guy, is that means if you travelled over to the UK, you're still being monitored if you've said okay to it. If I've got the NHS app and I go over to France, they have not got a clue whether I've got it or not. And they can't then disseminate that information around that country.
And
if somebody goes from Germany to France, they can still tell. They can still tell. And I'm amazed. We have sat here and said, yes, we've got to learn lessons from some of the countries around the world, including somebody who is very close to us, Germany, right? We've got to learn a lot from what they're doing. Well, guess what? Germany have backtracked and said, no, this will be a good idea to use this process. Think again, NHS. Think again. Right, that's my rant over because we could stay there a long time.
And the other problem is, and then we'll go on with the snippets, is in order for this to have any validity, you need to get 50 to 75% of the people involved. And
higher. It's higher.
Yeah,
it's higher than that. It's a big percentage that you need.
It is. And even a country, and we talked about this on the Mac to the Future livecast on Wednesday, is that even a country like Singapore, which has a tendency to trust their government sometimes to the point of failure, they've only got about a 20% buy-in on the app that they created. So in order for this to work, you need an app that is going to be universally accepted everywhere from companies that people trust more than their governments. Which should be almost any company, unless of course it's a company filled with analysts, and don't trust them.
Anyway, let's move on because we've got a lot of snippets to get through. Okay, apparently nobody on Wall Street really cares about Apple's iPhone delay. Well, that's back to the analysts that we love.
Know and love.
iPhone's SE's haptic touch doesn't work with notifications, and it's not a bug apparently. Apparently, customers who've purchased the new 2020 iPhone SE, I'm looking at you, Guy, have found a surprising missing feature. Haptic touch does not work with notifications. Oh. Have you found that?
No. Didn't really use it with my 8, so that's fine.
That's fine. Apparently, the former Apple lawyer fights insider trading charges, calling them unconstitutional.
Notice he didn't say that they weren't correct.
Apple retail chief expects more stores to reopen in May. And I think actually I've got to be a bit careful here because I'm jumping. Apple Pay activated by last major Australian holdout. So Westpac, Australia's second largest bank and the last country's big 4 to adopt Apple Pay, finally activated payments. Yay! Apple are planning a flexible batteries for a foldable phone or iPad. This is new research from Apple. Apparently, Clean My Mac X or 10 has made the Mac Store debut. That's good because it has to tie its fingers into lots of things, and people get very wary about these sorts of applications. So the fact that it's come through the Mac Store is pretty good.
Yeah. Malware. Sorry, excuse me.
Well, no, not Clean My Mac. Not Clean My Mac. The other one is deemed to be a little bit of malware.
Which one am I thinking of then?
You're thinking of the one with the robot, the funny looking robot. Go do a search.
Okay.
It's not Clean My Mac.
So serious.
Yeah. It's not that. It's not that either. You go and have a look while I'll come. But Clean My Mac is not. It's not a baddie. Apple Car could hide pop-up displays in dash behind interior panels.
Is that let's see? Is that from a certain Mr. Gene?
No, actually, no. It's from Apple. So it's from Apple Insider.
Darn it.
Analysts expect Apple Q2 2020 earnings to be down.
Wow, way to go out on a limb.
Apple are dominating India's premium smartphone market. No surprise there. Apple Support app updated with dark mode and enhanced navigation. Woohoo! In the US, Apple Maps now shows COVID-19 testing sites. That's good. Apple to pay $18 million to settle a dispute over the FaceTime fiasco.
Wow, all of $18 million, huh?
Yeah.
How will they survive?
I bet Tim went into his back pocket and said, "Do you know? I think I've got that in change."
Ching. There you go.
I think I reported on LG TVs last week. Well, Apple Music is now available on Samsung smart TVs. Siri has got improved voice now in Germany. That's good. Apple goes into the studio with Grammy-nominated music producer Oak Felder.
Oh, wow. Oak Felder? Really? I have no idea who that is.
I had to put that in because I was hoping you would.
No. I know who Don Felder is.
Oh, well.
But I don't know
it's
Oak Felder.
It's his brother. It's his brother.
And he's
Apple and Google give devs a first look at their COVID-19 tracking API. So that means it's got out to a wider audience, which is good because those devs will come back and tell Apple what they think about it and the rest of the world if they're not happy. Apple shares Wall Street jump on the COVID-19 drug hopes. Well, I think shares generally jumped, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Apple's iPhone 11 took top spot in China and outperformed the larger smartphone market. Woohoo! Apple makes it easier to skip Face ID if you're wearing a mask. Being able to unlock your phone with Face ID is great until you're wearing a mask.
Right.
Yeah. Apple chucks $3 at iPhone users after killing FaceTime on iOS 6 because it didn't want to pay connectivity charges.
Yeah, that has to do. That's
a class action lawsuit.
Right.
Yeah.
Lawyers got $10, but users only got $3.
Yeah, well, they've got to pay for those big houses somehow, Guy.
They do.
The French carrier pressing Apple to loosen the privacy protections for COVID app. So, yes, I'm pretty sure that France is using it, and that kind of confirms it.
No, say no.
Yes, say no. Now, I'm not sure how to take this next one. Warren Buffett says Tim Cook spent hours teaching him how to use his new iPhone 11. I'm not sure whether that says much about Warren Buffett, if I'm honest. But
this is what Tim Cook said.
Well, back to the old drawing board.
Yeah, that's what Tim Cook said.
Yeah, I must admit, though, apparently, Warren Buffett only recently switched from a flip phone. So that's probably why he needed help with doing flipping. This phone won't come on.
Why, you be
Yeah, there's Warren Buffett. And then he fell in water at the end for some reason.
Apple reports second quarter 2020 results, 11.2 billion profit on 58.3 billion revenue, all-time record for services revenue. Yeah, I think
that's wow, what a shock. Everyone's stuck at home.
Yes, absolutely. Apple News is now has 125 million monthly active users. Doesn't say subscribers.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that
doesn't say subscribers. Apple has shipped 7.5 million face shields to healthcare workers worldwide.
Eye shields.
Face shields.
I know, but Apple calls them eye shields.
Apple shields, they call them. So if someone throws an apple at you, it shields you from it.
Yeah. Anything else, you're screwed. But
Yeah. Especially if it's a pear. Apple CEO, do you know, suddenly BlackBerry entered my head then. And that's, such an ancient term, isn't it? Apple CEO Tim Cook says China demand largely recovered and their retail hit record high in quarter two. That is a surprise. Apple hit with another lawsuit claiming an iTunes music piracy. Shocker. Apparently Apple sales beat expectations, but Tim Cook sees uncertainty ahead. I bet he does.
Stand there like this.
Yeah. I can see uncertainty.
There's uncertainty on the horizon.
I see uncertainty.
What is it? What does uncertainty look like?
It looks like this.
Ooh, we're not certain.
Apple are planning Apple Card financing options for devices other than iPhone.
Of course they are, because they're a bank now.
And I see that Tim Robertson's sister is on the picture of the bank card that I can see in this particular thing from article even from Mac Rumors.
Smooth.
It's got Marcia Robertson. It was smooth, wasn't it?
So smooth.
Then I've actually said Apple reports second quarter results, and we've got all of that information, we've got a load of that coming in the second section. we're going to cover it so completely. Shh.
Sorry. They'll forget. They'll forget by then.
Tim Cook, Apple are continuing a new product development with the best pipeline ever.
But he's uncertain.
But he's uncertain about the future.
Yeah.
Apple says it expects iPhone and wearables revenue to drop in Q3, but the Mac and iPad to grow. Good. Apple executive Cynthia Hogan to help vet Biden's VP pick.
No, I got nothing.
Okay. Apparently, Apple has boosted the smartphone market share in China. Oh, that's a repeat. I shouldn't have put that in there. Sorry, that's my mistake. Analysts readjust expectation on Apple's better than expected Q2 results. Apple Card deferred payment program extended to May. That's good news for a lot of people, I should think. Yes. JP Morgan raises the Apple price target to $350 on better than expected March quarter results. Apple stock remains the top pick for Morgan Stanley due to long-term prospects. Apple Card customers can defer their May payments. I've repeated that one as well.
Well, when you're snippetlicious, it just
snippetlicious.
Snippetlicious.
Apparently, Apple have signed a 2-year overall deal with physical showrunner Annie Wiseman.
Are there mental showrunners? VR showrunners? No, that's the next section.
Apple has inked a 2-year creation deal with writer and producer Annie Wiseman, known for shows such as Desperate Housewives and Almost Family. There you go. I've always got a bit more news now, haven't I, if you need it. Federal Circuit dismisses the review of a patent in Apple Pay infringement suit. An attempt by Apple and Visa to get an invalidation of patent has failed on appeal, allowing a lawsuit that challenges ownership of Apple's Pay core technologies to continue.
And
more
it's
news.
In East Texas.
Yeah, I bet. Yes,
probably. Yes. They all are.
Yes, and that's it, really. I think that's it. I think that's my last one. Yeah.
That's what Apple snippets. Gaz's snippets.
Gaz's Apple snippets.
There we go. Excellent. Okay. That was fun. And all kidding aside, I love the Gaz's snippets.
Yeah, I never know whether to put more or less in because it's difficult, but I quite enjoy doing them now. They were getting a bit hard work previously, but I found a new method and it works well. So
something I was thinking about just before we got started on the show today is it's gotten to the point where Gaz's snippets can almost generate their own podcast. No, seriously. This all you need is someone to bounce it off of. And you could probably do this like 2-3 times a week.
No thanks.
Okay.
Thank you.
They're fun.
They are, yeah. Yeah. I need someone to bounce them off and
Well, like you and I do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but you've had enough of me by the time this podcast is over. It's like, all right, got to reset the clock till next week. There we go.
yeah.
He's back on again. Damn it.
Yeah, when am I talking to you next? Ooh, can you please go. This is a really bad period, actually, because neither of us are having a holiday.
I know.
That means I've got to talk to you every week.
That's right.
Take us out, Guy.
Everyone, please stand by. And Gaz and I will be right back virtually.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to point 2 of this week's Mighty MyMac podcast with Guy and Gaz. That's Guy over in the US of A and me over here in the UK.
With our blurred backgrounds.
Yeah, with our bird.
Yeah,
I've got bird edges. Yeah, nice. So, Guy.
Yeah.
Tell us all about the big Apple second quarter results this week. Oh, no.
No,
we're not
doing that.
Was it Game On?
Game On. Back in 2017 for WWDC, Apple, during their keynote, had some people on from Steam and they were talking about, and this is something that Apple has pushed with their AR efforts. SteamVR, which is Steam's virtual reality portal. Unfortunately, now 3 years later, close to 3 years later, they have dropped support for the macOS, but they explained themselves so elegantly and eloquently in their press release. And they said, SteamVR has ended macOS support, so our team can focus on Windows and Linux. We recommend that Mac OS users continue to opt into Steam VR branches for access to legacy builds. Users can opt into a branch by right-clicking on Steam VR in Steam and selecting properties, blah, 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 betas. And the only part of that announcement, Gaz, that really kind of hurt was saying that they'd rather focus on Linux than the Mac. And, you want to talk about a marginalized market. That's, the Mac OS has roughly, depending on whose numbers you believe, anywhere from 8 to 15% of the market, of the entire computer market. Linux doesn't have anywhere near that.
No.
Now, if you've never heard of SteamVR, don't worry about it. Outside of that keynote that I mentioned, there hasn't been much said about it, especially in regards to the Mac OS. And the reason why support is being dropped, in my opinion, are many, and we're going to go over those. Number one, most Steam users use Windows by an 8-to-1 or more margin. And I don't think that there's much that you can say about that other than, that's kind of the way the market is in general. Right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, go on.
Okay. Apple dropping 32-bit app support killed off many of the few available games that Mac users enjoyed. Left 4 Dead 2 Zombies. So, it didn't affect me at all, because I don't play games much.
No, not on the Mac.
No. Though I am going to talk about something from my app pick that Carl turned me on to.
Carl turned you on? Very nice.
Carl. That he's helped me with, and so I'm pretty happy about that.
Cool.
Number 3, something dropping OpenGL in favor of Metal. Something. And the reason why I put it that way is I don't really understand the differences between OpenGL and Metal. Apparently, legacy games, because Apple has been talking about OpenGL practically since macOS started, and so that was like their rendering engine that was built into the operating system. So people who were making games for the Mac, that's what they used. They used OpenGL. And then, of course, a couple of years ago, as they started this convergence between iOS, the iPad OS, and Mac OS, they've switched that over to Metal. So developers making new games for the Mac, for the most part, are using Metal as their rendering agent. I imagine someone who is a developer is like banging their head on the dashboard of their car saying, no, Metal is blah, 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 something, which is why I put something. Okay. Number 4, rumors of Apple moving the Mac to ARM processors, which you and I have talked about.
Yeah.
And there are still a lot of people insisting that that Macintosh hardware is going to move to ARM starting next year. And as much as I was in favor of that 5 years ago, I guess, or maybe even less than that, I just don't see it happening, which of course means that it's, going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah, that will quite impact them, I think, in the processing, because they're reliant on that Intel back end, aren't they?
Yeah, well, and not only that, but all of the developers who have developed software for Intel-based Macs will now, and I'm sure just like they have in the past, there'll be a compatibility layer to use Intel-based software on an ARM-based Mac, assuming that an ARM-based Mac is actually going to happen. But that compatibility layer is good for 1 to 2 years. And if you have legacy software and you're not making much money off of it, what's your incentive? Yeah. If you're not making much from it, then what's your incentive to redo the software? None, as far as I can tell.
None.
Okay, number 5, and I'm very serious about this.
Are you?
I am.
Okay. All right.
Apple Arcade fulfilling the needs of hardcore Mac gamers. No.
I love it when you're laughing at your own jokes.
I know. And that's actually what I have in the show notes here.
I know. He does, people. I'm looking.
Wheeze.
Ha. You missed a ha out, actually.
Oh, sorry. And then wheeze and then ha.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. You did it really well.
Thank you.
It sounded genuine.
And almost
looked
like it
genuine.
wasn't planned.
Wasn't planned at all.
Yeah. And now that we've said all that.
Go on to number 6.
Okay,
Quickly.
number 6. Sales of VR hardware and software is just not that strong. Even with a pandemic where people are looking for something to occupy their time inside with something new, VR and AR just aren't that much of a thing.
Now, I can hear loads of people going,
Sure.
They're all scratching their heads. They're looking at their device that they're listening on and going, but Tim said VR's the next big thing.
Yeah. And AR.
But did he say it's the next big thing on the Mac?
No.
No, hang on a minute. Let Steve answer that.
Sure, go ahead, Steve.
No.
See? Yeah, Steve agrees.
It's so much more authoritative when he says it, isn't it?
It is, and especially with that little, that light touch in his voice.
Yeah.
No.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We like it.
Yeah.
And to kind of show that VR and AR just hasn't been much of a thing, I got this off of, I actually did a little bit of research, and this is I know, it shocked me too. Sales,
So slap my wrist. I said VR. I meant AR, didn't I?
well, it doesn't matter because neither one is that big.
Yeah.
Of a, and here's the thing about
but
VR and AR. For VR, you need like specialized hardware. You need helmets and all kinds of stuff. Where with AR,
and that's right.
In theory, you should be able to have a pretty good experience looking down at your device on your phone, which is what Tim wants. And
that's what Tim wants to concentrate on. But equally, he's still only going to be concentrating on I think, on the mobile device.
Yes.
AR or VR. He's gonna want it on the mobile device, and I know it is AR they're concentrating on. So yeah. So all those people now scratching their heads saying, "Gaz, what are you talking about?"
Well, to put this all in some perspective,
go on then.
Sales for various, and this is all devices, for VR devices, went from just under 4 million units sold in 2017, which is where this started to become a thing.
Yeah, and it should have gone exponentially up through the roof. Go on, give us.
Well, it went to under 6 million in 2019. To give that some perspective, Apple sold nearly 66 million iPhones in Q1 of 2019, which was a 15% drop from the previous year. So Apple sold a magnitude of 10 plus phones to in a single quarter than VR devices sold in a complete year. And part of it, of course, it's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy. Part of the problem with devices like this is you can make the greatest hardware ever. You can make a platform that just blows you away. But if there's no applications for it, then who's going to bother? And the catch-22 is it's so expensive to make applications for a platform like this, when you combine how much that costs versus the lack of people who are buying the hardware, and video game consoles are, throughout the history of video game consoles is littered with hardware that just looked great for its time, but went nowhere because nobody made games for it.
No, that's very true. But can I give you an on the bright side?
Sure.
You can still use SteamVR with legacy builds through Boot Camp.
Yeah, you can go over in
parallels. Yeah. I got to say, everybody was scratching their head saying, "Yeah, Gaz, it's not a surprise. Tim Cook said that he was going to concentrate on AR, not VR."
Right.
Now, also, good stuff. And I think that VR, I think we've talked about this though in the past, haven't we? And I've said that VR is not where it's at. I think I agree with Tim that AR is where it's at, because having to wear those, and people get VR sickness as well, don't they?
Yeah, there are some people that are very susceptible to because basically, and these things are built to trick your brain.
Yeah, absolutely. And the problem is, you've got to have this great big covering around you. So until it can be part incorporated into a screen, it's like these people that have.
I use it when I drive all the time.
It's like people that have these 3D tellies, right?
Yeah.
The thing is, you put these glasses on, you can only see the 3D bit on a TV. That's why 3D is best at a cinema, because it's more encompassing. It's surrounding. So,
and not only that, but all of the outside influences. There.
Yeah, that's
in a
right.
Theater. Because when you're at home, you'll have like a bookcase next to your TV set, or the cat will be playing with something, and some things that distract you away from the experience. And it's kind of the same reason why 3D television never took off, is that people didn't buy it because there wasn't any content for it, or at least none worth, nothing from the big manufacturers, the big creators of content. You had things like, what was that movie that the Titanic guy did? Avatar. You had Avatar and movies like that where they had, this was like all the rage a couple of years ago in movie theaters. You could go see the movie, or Gaz, you could go see it in 3D. Yeah. And I actually did it a couple times. And I came out of the theater going, so what? It just didn't add anything. And that's all.
Interesting. It's good stuff. Good stuff. A lot of people were quite happy when, certainly Steam were supporting Macs, and then, they were going to be supporting the VR. But, I think it's a good business decision for them. But it doesn't bode well for VR, certainly on a Mac, definitely. Well, it doesn't bode well at all, does it really? It
doesn't bode well for the platform in general, as far as VR goes. No,
I think, and Tim's seen that as well.
He's one smart feller.
He is. He's one smart fella who gave an earnings call, and I'm just going to very, very quickly give you just a couple of points if I can, Guy, because I know we normally do a bit more in depth, but we can't be bothered. But basically, the company posted quarterly revenue of $58.3 billion, an increase of 1%. An increase of 1% on the year ago quarter, and quarterly earnings diluted share of $2.55, up 4%. And international sales accounted for 62% of the quarter's revenue. They generated a cash flow of $13.3 billion during the quarter, which is up $2.2 billion over the year ago. Wow, just wow. They've made significant investments in all areas of business to enrich our customers' lives and support our long-term plans, including their 5-year commitment to contribute $350 billion to United States economy. Just these numbers are, it's a very powerful small country. In fact, it's probably quite a powerful mid-sized country, if I'm honest.
Right now, France and Germany are like, we could have been like that.
Yeah.
And they say it just like that.
That was really good, Guy. Thanks very much. And everybody is now saying
we learned a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, they are.
Okay.
Do you want to take us out?
No, you do it this time.
Everybody stand by.
You betcha.
to stand by,
You betcha.
and we'll be right back.
No.
Yes, we will. And welcome back, everyone, to the MyMac.com podcast. This is point 3, Gaz. Point 3. Here's 3D for you. Would you agree with that?
I'm nodding my head.
You are.
Hit it. Gaz's tips.
Mostly.
Gaz's tips.
Mostly.
Gaz's tips.
It's time for...
Gaz's tips.
I was not sure what you were doing there for a minute.
Nodding my head, guy.
Okay, I got it now.
Okay. Want to force quit an application? Command, an option, and the escape key. Press them together, and it brings up the force option menu.
Yeah.
And you can then force quit any particular application that's open. Command, option, escape. Now, do you remember this one, Guy? If you connect your iPad to your Mac and you launch QuickTime Player and then choose a new movie recording from the file menu in QuickTime, and then if it's not already selected for you, choose your connected iOS device. There's a little drop down below the record button, and then it sits next to the record button, and choose whether you want to record sound or a built-in external mic.
Right from the iOS device.
From the iOS device itself. And on the same menu, and then it's all on the same menu, and then just click record, and QuickTime will record the screen and the sound either from your iOS device or from a separate mic input. As long as you're not trying to play DRM films on there. So come on, folks, think about it.
But that
it
works.
Won't let do that. But
If I was playing like a game.
Or if as long as they're not DRM'd, it should do, yes. And if you want to try and show somebody how to do something, you could speak over and then show them what you're doing on the pad and then send it to them. Just in QuickTime.
That, I was not aware of that. That is really cool.
Bum. Hit it. That's the end of Gaz's tips. That's the end of Gaz's tips. That's the end of Gaz's tips.
Is that the end of the tip?
Will you let me finish?
There we go.
I should be paid for this stuff.
You should. We should both be paid.
Oh, yeah. That ain't going to happen, though, is it?
No.
Stop the presses!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello? What? Okay. Do you have a pick this week, Gaz?
I do, actually. I do. It's a pick that I'm trying out. So it's a bit of a quick pick because I'm not tried it out properly yet, but it's called Star Stacks. Now it's not a Mac app application. It's not a Mac app application. What a stupid statement. It's not an app store application. You have to go and download it. It's a free to download piece of software, and I think he does it for Windows as well. But it's made for the latest
Windows
version
7 or higher.
And it's actually good for what are we on at the moment, Catalina?
Yes.
Yeah, it's good for Catalina as well. But basically, it's a multi-platform image stacking and blending software. So if I want to take a series of photos of a single image and I want to blend them, it's in particular stars, which is what I'm thinking of, because what I want to do is take a load of images of the stars and try and get the trail of them, look into the northern hemisphere. It will obviously put them all together to me to make one image. I don't particularly want to make a film here. I just want to make one image, so it'll stack them all together for me. And I've had it recommended from somebody I trust quite a lot, actually. So that's why I'm recommending it here. But I will be trying it at some point.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
Now, will that also do videos? It will accept all of the individual images and make a video?
Yeah, I think it's more images, Guy. It's more images. It's not really for, doing video. That's a whole different ball game if you think about it, isn't it, really? So.
Yeah, if only there was some application that would allow you to make movies from images. If only.
Well, iStop Motion, which still hasn't been updated for Catalina. So use Screenium, or not Screenium. What's the one I've got? Can't Can't remember what
changes.
Can't remember what the damn name of the program is now.
Well,
not screening. Anyway,
we'll come back to it.
And did you find it? Did you find the name of that app?
Which app?
MacKeeper. Just remembered it. It's just come into my head.
Yeah. That's a horrible program.
Yeah, that's the one you were thinking of.
Yes. And that is a horrible program.
Yeah.
Don't use MacKeeper. And the funny thing is, one of the years that I was at the Macworld Expo, I actually talked to those guys.
Yep.
And at the time, I'd never heard of them. It wasn't until after that expo was over that I started hearing reports of what this software did. It was like, oh, no, I don't want to use that.
Yeah. Anyway.
I have a pick also.
I was just going to ask you, do you have a pick? You asked me. You got in there really quick and asked me, so I was a bit surprised about that. So,
well, Carl Madden.
I thought for a minute that you didn't have a pick, which would be outrageous.
I do have a pick. I do. Carl Madden actually turned me on to this.
I'm glad that Carl turns you on. I'm really pleased with that.
Carl Madden. So.
So Steve is saying,
what happens now?
Exactly.
So am I. Yeah.
Well, I heard him talking about this on the Mac and Forth podcast, and it's NVIDIA GeForce Now, which is a paid-for service. Though there's a free tier available, but if you go with the free tier, you're basically put into a queue before your game starts, and you can only play for about an hour before it boots you out. But for $4.99 a month, they have a bunch of games, including, and this surprised me, if you're a Mac user and you'd bought a bunch of macOS Steam games. Well, once the macOS went to 64-bit and those developers, whether they were Steam or somebody else, hadn't updated those to 64-bit themselves, well, you couldn't play those games anymore unless you were, went into boot camp or whatever. But you can using NVIDIA GeForce Now. And I've only brought over, I think, 3 or 4 games so far that were Steam games that I'd already paid for, like Portal and Left 4 Dead and stuff like that. And they work reasonably well. Now, there's something that you have to think about. If you have a relatively slow internet access speed, you probably aren't going to be very happy with this. Even with my speed, which is 100, megabits or more, depending on the time of day, I will get some lag every once in a while, but I can at least play the games. So check that out, NVIDIA GeForce Now. There'll be a link in the show notes to go and check that out. Cool.
Sounds. They don't do VR, do they?
No, they do AR.
Yeah, it was a joke.
Yeah, except the A doesn't stand for augmented.
Right.
We won't go any farther than that.
Yeah. Can we
get to the main event?
We can get to the main event. If you would like to, we're starting to wrap up here, folks. If you would like to help support the things that I do, you can do stuff over at Patreon, patreon.com/MacParrot. Coffee, ko-fi.com/MacParrot, and PayPal, paypal.me/MacParrot. And thanks to Dennis, I hope I say this right, Roulette? I think that's how it's pronounced.
Roulade.
Roulade? I don't know. Thank you, Dennis.
Denny Roulette.
For your recent donation. It is greatly, greatly appreciated.
I don't care because he's not paying me. He's paying you. So
he paid me.
Roulou.
So you can just say whatever you want.
We're messing with him.
Any support for the various things that Gaz and I do is greatly appreciated. Gaz, if people wanted to get a hold of you, is there some way that they could do it?
Found it first time this week. Send an email to Gaz. G-A-Z
Cars
at mymac.com, or you can contact me on the Twitters, twitter.com/Gazmaz G-A-Z
Cars
M-A-Z
Cars.
You can also send an email to both Guy and myself on the Twitters, twitter.com/Guy and Gaz. GUYANDGAZ.
Cars.
It's interesting seeing your face when you do that.
Well, I'm kind of hamming it up this week.
You are a little bit.
We don't normally have the cameras on.
No, we don't. So you can also send an email to feedback, FWDBACK, at mymac.com. Now.
Yeah.
His name was Guy. No fooling.
Yeah.
Such a relief.
He's the guy.
He is.
Guy.
Guy?
Guy's the one.
Pay no attention to that guy behind the curtain.
Guy says. You know it was a guy?
It was a guy.
I like to go with Guy.
Yeah.
Guy was paid at 75 grand. So.
I wish.
By
MyMac.
Yeah. If you want.
An email from Guy.
How would they do it?
I'm exhausted.
You're exhausted.
I know.
I've got these in no particular order.
It's like, let's see, I'll pick this one from column A, one from column B. It's like Chinese food. You can send me an email, guy@mymac.com. You can contact me on the Twitters, Gaz, and I have not one, but two. But three. No, just two. Twitter accounts. One of them is Mac Parrot, and the other one is Vert Shark. No, it's not a mystery. It's Vert Shark. It's not a mystery. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Gonna need a bigger boat. Damn right. Damn right. Because as we all know,
I don't know. I'm making this up as I go.
making everything go. You can also contact us via our Skype number that just a few lucky people know how to use. And that phone number, Gaz, is 1 or +1 outside of the United States, 703-436-9501. That number again is 1 or +1, 703-436-9501. Is that like the ASL version of our?
Yeah, I was doing the numbers. Yeah, I was.
Trying. Okay, well, everything is blurred. So
I'm going to practice that. I'm going to practice
blurred.
that.
It's all blurred.
It's +1.
Go ahead.
703-436-9. That hurts. 01.
There we go. That's it. That is our telephone number.
God, my fingers hurt now.
I know. I am not surprised at all. Not since I was a teenager, but we won't go into that right now. I would like to say thank you to everyone who downloads and listens to the MyMac.com podcast. It is great. It is greatly appreciated. And Gaz, I think that we're good enough. Hello?
Yeah, we're good enough.
Yeah, I also think that we're smart enough.
Yeah, that's when I should have played it.
Yeah. Hello? And that doggone it, woof, woof, woof. People like us.
Shitter.
Oh, careful.
Fast in a heart, git. Meg any for te stelle. For det står unders. Jag ser par det hele tiden. Not med Netflix.
Do you watch the Netflix?
And
so you can all go home and there's nothing to worry about. Get out of here now. Go on home and go home.